What if the biggest headline about your favorite rapper in 2026 isn't a chart-topping single, a surprise album drop, or a sold-out arena tour, but another courtroom filing? What if the loudest sound attached to his name right now isn't bass rattling speakers, but the shuffle of legal paperwork hitting a judge's desk? Because that, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly where Drake finds himself today. Sources close to the situation say the saga is not only continuing, it's escalating. And just when hip-hop thought this chapter was finally closed, Drake has kicked the door wide open again. The tea spilling next is piping hot, deeply messy, and honestly kind of unbelievable. Before we go further, support me by liking this video and subscribing to this channel. It helps a lot. When people imagine Drake's 2026, they pictured studio sessions lit by dim LEDs, moody beats thumping through expensive speakers, and a carefully curated comeback narrative. What nobody had on their bingo card. Drake spending more quality time with lawyers than producers. Yet here we are. Insiders say that instead of focusing on music, Drake has opened the year by filing a fresh, jaw-dropping stack of legal documents, over 60 pages deep. That's not a freestyle. That's not an EP. That's a full-length dissertation dedicated to one thing and one thing only: trying to undo the cultural damage of Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us. And here's where it gets spicy. This isn't Drake quietly licking his wounds or moving on gracefully. This is Drake doubling down, insisting that a diss track, yes, a diss track, should never have seen the light of day. According to sources familiar with the filing, the argument hinges on the idea that Kendrick's lyrics were not metaphorical, not artistic, not exaggerated, but allegedly literal and harmful. Hip-hop fans immediately smelled something off. Because if diss tracks suddenly need courtroom approval, what genre are we even talking about anymore? The core of Drake's new legal push is simple in theory and wild in practice. He's arguing that the judge's previous decision, dismissing the case on the grounds that reasonable listeners understand rap lyrics aren't literal, sets a dangerous precedent. Let that sink in. According to Drake's camp, the court has effectively ruled that diss tracks are immune from legal consequences. And in Drake's world, that's unacceptable. Sources say the filing claims this opens the door for unchecked lyrical attacks, painting Drake as the victim of a system that allegedly doesn't take reputational harm seriously enough. But hip-hop heads immediately clocked the irony. Rap beef has always thrived on exaggeration, wordplay, and lyrical warfare. To suddenly pretend otherwise feels less like a principled stand and more like a bruised ego refusing to heal. Remember when diss tracks were settled on wax? When a score was kept by bars, not billable hours? Yeah, those days feel far away right now. Back in October 2025, the court dismissed Drake's original lawsuit, concluding that listeners were capable of understanding Kendrick Lamar's lyrics as artistic expression rather than factual allegations. The judge trusted the audience's intelligence. That ruling should have been the end of it. Mic drop. Case closed. But sources close to Drake say that decision didn't sit right with him. Not even a little. Instead of accepting the loss, Drake allegedly took it as a personal insult. To him, the idea that people could hear "Not Like Us" and not take every bar literally, apparently unbearable. So now, in 2026, Drake is back with a vengeance, arguing that the case should never have been dismissed in the first place and must go to trial. A full trial. Witnesses. Public scrutiny. Headlines on headlines. And fans are asking the obvious question: why would anyone willingly put themselves through that kind of public humiliation again? At this point, sources say the lawsuit isn't really about legal merit. It's about pride. Drake didn't just lose a rap beef. He lost control of the narrative. And for an artist who's spent over a decade meticulously managing his image, that loss cuts deep. Industry insiders suggest Drake knows the odds aren't in his favor. The legal reasoning hasn't changed. The cultural consensus hasn't shifted. But none of that matters when ego takes the wheel. This isn't about winning in court. It's about refusing to admit defeat in the court of hip-hop. Because once you accept that "Not Like Us" landed, you accept that the beef ended with Kendrick standing tall, and Drake for the first time in years on the losing side. And for someone who built an empire on dominance, that's a hard pill to swallow. Here's where the contrast gets painfully clear. While Drake is buried in legal briefs, the rest of the genre is moving forward. ASAP Rocky just dropped new music and reminded everyone why style and substance still matter. Kendrick Lamar continues to shape the culture without even breaking a sweat. Every move calculated, every appearance intentional. J. Cole, love him or hate him, he's still rapping, still releasing, still showing up for the art. The speakers are booming. The crowds are loud. The culture is alive. And Drake? He's arguing in legal documents that diss tracks are dangerous. Let that contrast marinate for a second. Hip-hop isn't just music. It's expression, rebellion, storytelling. Diss tracks are one of the purest forms of competition the genre has. Trying to legally neuter that tradition feels, to many fans, like a betrayal. Critics say Drake's argument isn't just weak, it's anti-hip-hop. By suggesting that lyrical creativity should be constrained by legal fear, Drake is essentially attacking the foundation of the genre that made him a star. Old heads are disgusted, new fans are confused, and somewhere in between, people are asking how someone who benefited so heavily from rap's free-for-all spirit can now try to shut the door behind him. If you're feeling some type of way about this, you're not alone. Drop a comment, because this debate is tearing timelines apart. Let's say Drake gets his wish. Let's say this goes to trial. What exactly does he think happens next? Legal experts predict a media circus unlike anything hip-hop has seen. Lyrics dissected line by line. Expert witnesses explaining metaphor to a jury. Fans turned into armchair lawyers overnight. And the worst part? Every ugly detail gets dragged back into the spotlight. Every bar, every meme, every moment Drake tried to forget. Instead of burying "Not Like Us," a trial would immortalize it, which makes this whole move feel less strategic and more self-destructive. Sources say this legal back and forth could stretch on for years, possibly all the way to 2028. That's 4 years removed from the original beef. For years. In hip-hop time, that's an eternity. Trends change. Sounds evolve. Fans move on. And artists who fail to adapt get left behind. Dragging this lawsuit out risks freezing Drake in a moment he desperately needs to escape. Here's the part nobody wants to talk about. Drake is nearing 40. His career has been massive, influential, and undeniably successful. But legacies aren't just about peaks. They're about endings. Right now, Drake risks being remembered not for classic albums or era-defining hits, but for relentless legal drama and an inability to take an L. Meanwhile, Kendrick is cemented as a generational voice. Cole is preparing another major chapter. Rocky, Tyler, Travis, they're all focused on art. History doesn't wait for anyone. Insiders say Drake's upcoming projects are already being overshadowed by this legal noise. Fans are tired. Casual listeners are disengaging. And every lawsuit headline pushes the music further in the background. If an album rollout needs courtroom drama to stay relevant, that's a problem. Because hip-hop rewards authenticity and punishes distraction. So here we are, Drake in 2026. Not battling on beats, but in briefs. Not winning hearts, but filing motions. And the question remains, is this how one of the biggest stars in hip-hop history wants to be remembered? Was "Not Like Us" really that powerful? Or did this response make it legendary? Let us know what you think. Is Drake protecting his name or destroying his legacy? Drop your thoughts below. Remember to like this video and subscribe to this channel if you haven't.